Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. Hoosier businesses closed their doors when the pandemic hit are slowly getting back on track and welcoming customers back. Indiana has gone through 4 stages of a reopening plan and a 5th and final stage just around the corner now. With more on getting Indiana back on track by around the 4th of July holiday. Details also on a $10 million program designed to support the state's manufacturing sector. Pleased to be joined by IEDC Chief of Staff Luke Bosso. And Luke, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Gary. Happy to be here.
I want to talk in a moment about that $10 million fund plus another big pot of money that's out on the table there for Indiana companies. But first of all, to give us, bring us up to speed, if you will, companies beginning to get back to work now around the state of Indiana. How would you assess the process and the progress in that back on track, get to work plan?
You know, Gary, I think it's been a rollout. Obviously, you know, we're in uncharted territory as a country when it comes to reopening, but businesses have been receptive and been willing to work with the state to get open. And all along, as Governor Holcomb has said, we want to get businesses open, but we want to do it safely, and we're doing a good job of that so far.
So many businesses around the state of Indiana, obviously around the country, have been hit very hard. Restaurants, the convention business, manufacturers, it runs the gamut. I think it's interesting to note that there are some programs that are being rolled out now at the state level where companies can access funding. First of all, $10 million targeting manufacturing. It's a 3-pronged approach that includes entrepreneurial ventures, if you will, in manufacturing. But talk about that $10 million fund and how manufacturers can engage.
Yes, our Economic Activity Stabilization Enhancement Program, otherwise known as EASE. It's a program that we have been thinking of doing for quite some time, and then COVID hit, and we thought it'd be a great time to transition into it. For one, companies affected by COVID. 2, companies that were going to lack capital during COVID, and then 3, companies who wanted to retool their manufacturing setup during COVID to make things such as PPE or medical equipment. So as you mentioned, $10 million set aside. $4 million set aside for companies that would like to retool with smart manufacturing or retool with retool to make PPE. We're really excited about this program. It launches next month on the application period. We also have $3 million set aside for smart manufacturing hubs. This will give companies access to capital to buy smart manufacturing equipment to put in their companies, and then also will allow access for businesses to have employees come in and train on it, so we can train our next level of manufacturers through the state. And then $3 million set aside for our venture-backed manufacturing companies who will be able to access capital during a time when we know it's been difficult for them to do so.
Yeah, when you talk about that smart manufacturing studio lab, I think that is an example of the focus on advanced manufacturing, technology, and innovation, and trying to really help some of those companies along.
Yes, as a state, we're manufacturing heavy, and we're proud of that. And we want to make sure that our companies, as we transition, to the next line of manufacturing, which we see as smart manufacturing. And we're excited about this program. We've got a lot of feedback and a lot of people calling and asking us about it and wanting to be involved. And we really think this will continue to take the state to the next level.
Want to touch on, too, something that I think hasn't gotten a lot of attention yet. That's a big pot of money, $35 million on the table for Restart grants. Talk about that and how companies, again, can get some of that action.
So, as you mentioned, Restart program, $35 million, $5 million set aside for Marion County, $5 million set aside for minority and women-owned businesses. This is a complementary program to PPP for employers under 50. And, you know, one of the things, Gary, in rolling this out, we know that restaurants, retail, hospitality have really been hit hard. So we wanted to make sure not only do we have a program that touches on every industry, but also one that specifically focuses on those small businesses so they have access to capital. We want as many people to apply as possible. It's up to $10,000 per employer for the grant program, and it is just a grant. Now, we also do encourage people to continue to look at the Paycheck Protection program at the federal level, as there is more than $100 billion still left in that. But as a state, we wanted to make sure we're getting capital to businesses as quickly as possible to make sure they can reopen safely and reopen in this economy.
Luke, before we leave, I want to ask you about the business of economic development during the COVID pandemic, how things are going both here in this country and internationally. There's been a lot of action, a lot of companies internationally announcing plans to invest in Indiana. What's the status of economic development as we're hopefully beginning to come out of the pandemic?
It's been interesting for all of us. Nobody's ever been through a pandemic like this. But at the IEDC, we feel really good about the prospects coming out of this. We've been able to land an economic development deal every week during COVID. So we know that the business community still feels strongly about Indiana, still feels strongly about investment and expansion opportunities they have within the state. While we've seen internationally, there's been issues with the supply chain and issues with other things. We know that companies are still calling Indiana. They want to be here. Our tax environment is friendly. And as we've seen, our ability to be able to have a rainy day fund in this state has really excited businesses throughout the country and throughout the world. And it's one of the reasons why they continue to call Indiana, because through all of this, we'll still be in good financial shape.
All right, Luke Bosso, Chief of Staff at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. A lot of money out there for Indiana businesses. Luke, thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Gary.